Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to the channel, and today we've got some more Battlefield 6 news. According to Insider Gaming, they say that DICE are ramping up Battlefield 6 playtests ahead of some big announcements for the game. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, how we can potentially get into these playtests and take part ourselves, and then I wanted to update you all about the video I did the other day, which was talking about an ex-DICE developer making some pretty worrying statements about the future of Battlefield, such as the ex-general manager of Call of Duty was trying to turn Battlefield into Call of Duty with annual releases, amongst other things. Before we begin though guys, as always, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any future videos, and as always, thank you guys for your ongoing support. So as we've already learned a few months ago, Battlefield 6 is undergoing some of the franchise's biggest playtests ever, according to Insider Gaming here, to prevent another disastrous launch. Now, everything we find on Insider Gaming is basically a scoop from people, well, inside the industry, so we don't always know if it's legit or not, but I can say that most of the stuff that comes out of Insider Gaming has been correct. He was right on the money with saying that the next Battlefield game was going to be modern, it was going to return to 64 players, it was going to get rid of operators, and so I think he's certainly on the money here with the playtesting. So a couple of months ago, DICE did an article in collaboration with IGN detailing that the next Battlefield game was indeed going to go back to its roots and going to be a modern game and all of that. We all saw the videos and that stuff, and at the same time Insider Gaming put out their own article, but they've now released an update today on January the 24th, and it says here that Insider Gaming understands that playtests are ramping up again ahead of some big announcements for the game in the coming months. It's understood that playtests will test the game's multiplayer and Ripple Effect's free-to-play Battle Royale offering. Can't say the Battle Royale from Ripple Effect there really excites me, and since, you know, Insider Gaming does have a reputation for being correct about these things, that worries me even more. It always feels like DICE get to the party just a little bit too late, you know. Once Battle Royale starts to become this big thing, they of course made a Battle Royale for Battlefield 5, Firestorm, but they didn't make it free to play, so they kind of missed the trick in that regard. And now it sounds like they're going for a Battle Royale again, but to me, it sort of feels almost like Battle Royale is going out of fashion. They, of course, also try to hone in on the popular market, the trendy thing, by making Hazard Zone for Battlefield 2042, and that was a complete and total flop. Honestly, I feel like there are so many extraction games and shooters in general at the moment that I wouldn't be surprised if that trend is also going to go somewhat out of fashion in the gaming industry within the next few years, just because everybody has been going for that. So the burning question on everybody's lips is, how do we get into these playtests? How do we get a chance at trying Battlefield 6 before it releases? And overall, like, who are they playtesting the game with? I don't have any solid answers for you guys. I can tell you that as a creator, I'm not in any of that stuff. I've not heard about anybody else in it either, so maybe at the moment they're only using local playtesting, and if you want to be invited to that sort of thing, you can actually sign up on EA's website to become an EA playtester, and if you happen to live locally in Stockholm where DICE is, you can actually physically go to the studio and take part in some playtests. You'll probably have to sign an NDA, of course, and maybe that's the only kind of playtesting that they're doing at the moment. Perhaps they do have some really, really big creators in there, or some chosen few creators, I don't know, and they are testing things under NDA as well. But I wouldn't be surprised, like they say on Insider Gaming, if things do start to ramp up and we see some sort of an announcement from EA and from DICE on perhaps how you guys can take part in some playtests as well. This does, of course, thrill me that they are playtesting the game with us this time around, because God knows with Battlefield 2042, that was one of the major downfalls. If they'd have actually playtested it with us, well, we would have told them exactly what we thought then, instead of when the game released. So I think that definitely is a positive thing for the franchise. I also feel that pretty soon is the right time for us to hear more news about the game in general. Delta Force has already released, it's come out, it's done its thing, it's there for people who want to play it, and it's almost sort of had its moment in the limelight at this point, I feel. And so I don't think DICE putting out information will be overshadowed by that game at all. And what's more, recently, thanks to Risible over on Blue Sky, one of the ex-developers, he's been kicking up a little bit of a fuss about what's going on with the future of Battlefield and what DICE and EA's plans are for that, saying that it is going to be more like Call of Duty and stuff like that. So I think this would be the perfect timing for EA and DICE maybe to say, okay, let's put some good news out there to kind of right the boat and keep public perception on the straight and narrow again. Now, speaking of that post by Risible, for you guys who didn't see that video, I'll link it in the corner so you can catch up and stay up to date, but no doubt most of you will have already heard about that news. Over on that thread on Blue Sky, a lot of more interesting information has actually come out in the replies there, so I wanted to read a few of this to you guys. And basically, David Serland, who worked on Battlefield 4, and for me, he is one of the few developers at DICE who I definitely trust to do the right thing for the future of the franchise. Whether he will actually be listened to or not, I don't know, but I do think his heart is generally in the right place. He was one of the main key figures responsible for the creation of the CTE, or the Community Test Environment, that really made massive changes to getting Battlefield 4 in the right place and future Battlefield games as well. And he actually chimed in on this thread here, and he says, having been part of, well, almost all of that storyline, third time's the charm, and currently working on the next one makes this an interesting thread to say the least. Not far off the mark in the history side here, but the cause and effect is all over the place. So sort of what he's saying is the history of how things went down at DICE, Patrick Soderlund leaving the studio, him sort of falling out with EA and stuff and losing their favour, and some of the developers and the most important key figures at DICE being let go by EA, is spot on, but the reasons for that happening were not so spot on by him. Of course, he didn't elaborate on that and tell us what the reasons actually were in his opinion, so we'll just have to sort of take that at face value. So David, aka Tigger, did of course leave DICE Studios. I think he went on to do like Battlefield 5, not sure if he left after that or he continued into Battlefield 1 as well, but at some point he left, and then he recently came back after Battlefield 2042 released, and I believe they brought him back in to begin work on the next Battlefield game. Not necessarily to fix up Battlefield 2042, but to start work on brainstorming for the next game and what they wanted to go with there. Now, lots and lots of people in this thread asked Risible more questions, since he is an ex-DICE developer and he was pretty open to answering anything that people wanted to hear. So here's a really interesting one. This person here asks, do you know what the tone or direction of the next Battlefield game will be? Any gameplay changes from the previous games? So when it comes to Battlefield, he says, when I left DICE, the tone of the new Battlefield game was, let's be really safe and get back to the game's roots. So they pitched a modern game setting and back to basics gameplay, soldier classes, conquest as the main multiplayer mode, and no more operators. So that sounds very encouraging, that they do realise at DICE what the goal is, what is the mission. It's to get the community back on board, to lay their fears to rest, to reassure them that everything's going to be good again. And honestly, it really does reassure me to hear that they understand that that's what they need to do, because I think that's 100% correct. Don't be doing anything weird and wacky. Of course, they are making this Battle Royale that's going to be free to play, apparently by Ripple Effect Studios. Maybe it's going to be pretty good. Me, myself, I'm just not like a big Battle Royale or extraction shooter dude. I just like my regular old Battlefield Conquest. Call me old-fashioned, I don't know, but that's what I like. I don't have anything against them making a Battle Royale, though, particularly, unless it's going to impact the core game, the main game, let's call it. The only other worry I have about that is that maybe it could potentially steal more of the player base away from the core game and become almost more popular, sort of like what we saw happen with Call of Duty and Warzone. But I suppose, you know, Battlefield in general being more popular is still a good thing. So hopefully we will hear some solid news from DICE and EA in the coming couple of months, hopefully about playtesting as well, and just how we can get our hands on playtesting the game, giving DICE our feedback, and really helping them to iterate and improve upon the game before it does presumably release this year. They haven't actually come out and said that it's going to release this year, I don't think officially. It's just assumed to be that. Since it will be 4 years in October since Battlefield 2042 released, that is already a quite long time to wait for a new Battlefield game, and they do have like 4 studios working on it at this point. As always, as soon as I hear anything about the new game, I will be making a video of it here on the channel, so keep your ears close to the floor and your eyes peeled. Let me know down below what you think about all of this, guys. Are you stoked for the next Battlefield game? Are you a little bit apprehensive? Are you optimistic? Like, how are you feeling in general? If you want to know how I'm feeling, kind of cautiously optimistic, still a little bit apprehensive. I would definitely say, like, don't pre-order the game this time. Use those pre-order statistics to show EA that they're not safe. They do need to deliver on a good product. And they can't just release the game in whatever state they please because tons and tons of people have pre-ordered it and they're going to rake in the money and everything's just going to be fine. Hopefully they've already realized this themselves after the failure of Battlefield 2042, but you never really know with EA, do you? As always, thank you guys for watching the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more Battlefield, and I'll see you guys in the next one.